I have a question. Who put out that horrible, terrible, bad rumor that y'all broke up? Who did that?
Your sister.
Toni Braxton.
Right. I don't believe they got married. I think that's a lie. The reason why I think it's a lie because Stella not gonna do nothing without Slim being there or Slim knowing something about it.
Toni Braxton finally broke her silence on all those rumors about Birdman and Cash Money, and the industry has not stopped buzzing since. People online have always called Birdman's world dark, full of strange habits, loyalty demands, and heavy energy. But Toni's recent moves made folks look twice at what was really going on behind the scenes. For years, the public saw Toni and Birdman as the most unexpected fairy tale.
You know what was weird to me when I got the Cash Money? It was the weirdest thing. I know they had all these artists on the label.
Right.
So I get to the label, and then all of a sudden, they let all the artists go, all the other artists go.
Find R&B icon paired with a street legend. People wondered why someone like Toni would be tied to a man with Birdman's gritty past, but their relationship was never simple. Underneath the diamonds and private jets, Toni said she felt an energy around him that didn't feel right, the kind that comes with too much power and too little peace. Their secret marriage wasn't fake chatter. Paperwork showed something happened, even if both sides tried to clean it up later. But the speed of how it fell apart told its own story. 2 weeks after tying the knot, the whole thing collapsed. Toni jumped online, denied it all, and wiped her feeds clean.
I never allowed none of the labels to own nothing. I own everything.
Universal.
No, Universal never owned nothing.
That wasn't panic. That was a quiet exit from something she didn't trust. People have whispered for years that Cash Money wasn't just a label, but a place where strange decisions were made behind closed doors. The same kind of whispers artists like Juvenile refer to when talking about the lifestyle inside the camp. Toni saw those shadows up close and realized she wasn't built for that world. She had survived lupus, heart issues, and real health scares, but what she sensed around Birdman felt deeper and heavier. She stepped back fast, cleaned her social media, and focused on staying healthy and performing again. Meanwhile, Birdman wasn't looking like himself anymore. Clips from shows showed him drifting off mid-sentence, eyes half closed under the stage lights. The internet went wild with speculation. Some people said it looked like exhaustion.
About the guy that don't pay the producers to the last minute. Oh, let me stop. I love Birdman.
Others claimed illness, and a few even said he looked like someone carrying too much stress. Birdman's people tried to shut rumors down quick. BG even laughed it off in a video, saying Birdman was just struggling with the teleprompter and was all business. Maybe that's true, but the image of Birdman nodding under the spotlight stuck in people's minds, especially since so many artists linked to that empire have had hard falls or faded from the spotlight. Let's be real. Toni didn't just leave a man, she walked away from an environment that didn't feed her soul. The word ritual gets thrown around a lot when people talk about Cash Money, but not in a supernatural way. More like rituals of power, loyalty, and control. From the outside, Cash Money looked like a label. On the inside, it moved like a tight circle where loyalty was everything. New artists had to earn their spot, follow unspoken rules, and stay close to the boss. The kisses on the cheek, the daddy nickname, the matching tattoos. The internet has joked about those moments for years, but inside the camp, people said they were symbols of loyalty, not romance. Every gift Birdman gave, cars, chains, stacks, came with a message. This came from me, remember that. And in that world, silence was part of the culture. Artists who pushed back often drifted out quietly. UNLV, Kilo G, and others became names people only whispered about. It wasn't until Lil Wayne publicly pushed back that the cracks finally showed. Once Wayne spoke out, the family image around Cash Money started to look more like pressure than love. That's the world Toni stepped into. She saw the way everyone froze when Birdman entered a room. She said the vibe didn't feel like love. It felt like a warning. Toni fought hard for her peace and wasn't about to let anybody have control over her life again, so she walked away. The only move that guaranteed her freedom. And from there, everything shifted. The short-lived marriage between Toni and Birdman was only the beginning of Birdman's public unraveling. Even though they went public in 2016, they reportedly tied the knot quietly in 2024, and the honeymoon ended instantly. 2 days after the ceremony, Toni filed for divorce, calling the union irretrievably broken. She later withdrew the petition in early 2025, but their social media purge showed the split was real. Then Birdman jumped online, accusing Toni of using him financially, calling her a gold digger and claiming she pawned her ring while pushing for a huge payout. Once that hit gossip blogs, both fan bases exploded. Outside hip-hop circles, Birdman's reputation took a hit. Many R&B and pop spaces painted him as controlling. But in Southern rap circles, some fans said his fearless attitude made him look even more like a boss. Money-wise, Birdman didn't lose much since the filings got dismissed. But the culture shift was obvious. Toni gained sympathy, though the big payout rumors brought up talk of her past bankruptcies. Still, the drama boosted her old music streams and renewed interest in her documentary work about financial independence. Cash Money wasn't untouched either. Artists tied to Young Money slowed down collaborations. Some mid-tier acts began distancing themselves. But Birdman flipped the chaos into marketing for rich gang releases, turning controversy into streams. When the smoke cleared, Birdman still controlled Cash Money, but his cultural goodwill wasn't the same. Toni walked away with empathy, exposure, and fresh momentum, even if some questioned her motives. And the Cash Money family, never going back to what it used to be. Cash Money really did shape Southern hip-hop and stamped an era with hit after hit. But behind the awards, the cars, and the giant mansions, people in the industry have talked for years about how business inside the label blurred the line between tough management and flat-out exploitation. Behind the luxury photo shoots and iced-out chains, there was a structure some former artists say kept them tied to Birdman's power for decades. Multiple artists claimed their label advances were never fully delivered or were set up like debts they could never escape because everything was recoupable and extremely unclear. TQ's $10 million lawsuit brought one major issue to light. He claimed the lawyer who represented him as a teenager was the same lawyer representing Cash Money, meaning every contract was already tilted toward the label before he even signed. Industry folks called that a huge conflict of interest that locked young artists into long-term deals they barely understood. Lil Wayne's massive 2017 lawsuit went even deeper. In his filings, he accused Cash Money and Universal of working behind his back to reduce his streaming and publishing profits. Wayne said he was forced to settle for far less than what he earned, and fans still debate what really happened. People compare Birdman to Suge Knight for a reason. On the West Coast, Suge kept artists tied through fear. On the East and South, Birdman kept them tied through gifts. Money, jewelry, cars, jets, flashy payments that looked huge on camera but kept artists locked into contracts long after the spotlight faded. Even the contracts themselves became part of the mythology inside Cash Money. Their legendary 1998 deal with Universal had an 80-20 split in Cash Money's favor, unheard of at the time. Birdman took that same playbook and applied it inward. Masters rarely went to the artists, and royalty statements were almost impossible to decipher. Some early negotiators, like Wendy Day, who helped Cash Money land their first major deal, said they never received what they were owed afterward. Birdman's infamous line, "Sue me, when I have to pay you, you'll get paid," became something people quoted inside industry circles. Universal eventually helped cover Cash Money's debts in exchange for deeper control of distribution, creating what insiders now call ghost royalties, money that should have gone to artists but allegedly disappeared into higher corporate layers. Fans never saw that side of the business at all. Inside Cash Money, loyalty got you Lambos, chains, and that front row lifestyle. But refusing to play by Birdman's rules could mean late checks, delayed albums, or quiet blacklisting. From the outside, the bling looked glamorous, but behind the scenes, it kept power concentrated at the top. By 2025, insiders described Cash Money as almost medieval in structure. Birdman and Slim ran everything, while younger names like Jacquees pledged lifelong loyalty, yet barely held any actual control over their own careers. These weren't supernatural rituals. They were habits built over decades, habits that turned money into a weapon of control. That's when some of the biggest names in the label started making moves behind Birdman's back. Quiet moves at first, then loud enough that anyone paying attention could see the storm forming. Tension inside the Cash Money camp hit a boiling point in 2025. Some artists flexed publicly, others stayed silent, but everyone clearly had their own agenda. Lil Wayne, whose issues with Birdman had been simmering for years, made sure the world knew he was done playing nice. During the Hot Boys reunion tour, Wayne and the crew walked off stage right in the middle of Birdman hyping up the crowd. The clip went viral instantly, and just weeks earlier at Lil Louisiana Fest 2025, Wayne flat out cut Birdman off mid-speech, stopping him from finishing a dedication to Birdman's mother, Ms. Gladys. Fans and insiders didn't need subtitles. They knew that meant the forgiveness from their 2018 settlement had officially expired. Old wounds, old money, old rules. Wayne was reclaiming his lane. Juvenile handled the tension differently. He kept it classy, but his frustration showed up in small ways. On the Cash Money Millionaire's 30th anniversary tour, he took a moment to call out Birdman's booking team for failing Hot Boy Turk, underpaying him, or sidelining him completely. Juvenile even admitted it put him in a tough situation, stuck between loyalty to Birdman and loyalty to his people. By summer, Juvenile shifted his focus to new projects instead of publicly dragging the drama. You could tell he still had love for Cash Money, but he wasn't blind to what was happening around him. Then came Drake, the quiet strategist. Kendrick Lamar had already called him a snake, but the real chess game was behind the scenes. Drake didn't publicly take shots at Birdman. He didn't have to. Instead, in 2025, he filed a lawsuit against Universal, the distribution pipeline for Cash Money. Drake's move wasn't personal, it was business. Everybody could see he was positioning himself for independence while still keeping ties to Cash Money when it benefited him. Smart, clean, strategic, pure Drake. Nicki Minaj stayed even quieter. Birdman bragged in interviews that Cash Money made over $2 billion from Wayne, Drake, and Nicki, and claimed he paid them well. Nicki never confirmed, never denied. She just kept dropping music under her own imprint setups, not Birdman's. She kept the respect without catching any of the heat. By the end of 2025, Birdman's big three weren't really connected to him anymore. Wayne's on-stage walk-offs, Juvenile's polite warnings, Drake's legal maneuvers, and Nicki's independent blueprint told the whole story. Loyalty had limits, and everyone was taking control of their own future. Behind the scenes, whispers turned into full conversations. Lawsuits, exits, new alliances forming in the shadows. The storm wasn't over. Anyone watching could feel the shift. One wrong move, and the entire Cash Money world could flip upside down. By 2025, Cash Money studios and tours felt like ground zero for chaos. The tension no longer stayed behind closed doors. It leaked onto social media, into backstage clips, and inside fan group chats. And fans, they were eating it up. Hip-hop thrives on drama, and Cash Money delivered every time. Inside the studio, control battles and clashes ruled the day. Birdman kept a tight grip on timelines, features, and track lists. If an artist didn't fall in line, their album could disappear overnight. Leaked clips showed Wayne and Birdman having heated arguments over royalties, song choices, and creative direction. It was messy, but Wayne wasn't backing down 1 inch. Meanwhile, Drake and Nicki played the remote game, recording their verses separately and avoiding Birdman-controlled sessions. That move alone told fans everything. Protecting your peace meant working from a distance. The tour life, just as chaotic. The 2025 Cash Money Millionaire's 30th anniversary tour was a roller coaster of canceled shows, last-minute lineup changes, and missing performers. One major show was canceled at the very last minute due to scheduling issues, sparking rumors of internal feuds and broken planning. Fans saw it as another sign that Birdman's old-school, heavy-handed leadership was cracking. When the crew did hit the stage, tension was visible. During one Hot Boys segment, Wayne cut Birdman off again, refusing to let him finish speaking, a public sign that their old bond was over. Backstage, brands and sponsors were getting nervous too. Insiders said some companies didn't want to support Cash Money events anymore because they feared unpredictable drama. But for diehard fans, the conflict made the shows even more addictive. Every look, every missed entrance, every social post became a hidden message to decode. People were watching like hawks, screenshotting everything, dissecting every move. The studios, the tours, the internet chatter, everything became part of the Cash Money spectacle, a high-stakes game of loyalty, power, survival, and entertainment. And nobody wanted to look away.